Hey everyone, it's Nancy at Sipping and Painting Hamden. Thanks for painting with me. We are going to paint this lovely painting today of giant daisies. So the first thing that I do is that I cover my canvas in just plain old water. The reason I do that is I'm painting in Denver, and Denver is a very dry place. And so acrylic paints dry out really quick in Denver. So you can do it with your brush, or you can take a little bottle and spritz it. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Just keep your canvas moist, keep your paints moist. I'm going to be painting with the same colors I used earlier today, so it's kind of a mess, but I want to show you. I have blue, white, black, red, and yellow. That's it, just super primary colors, nothing fancy about this painting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some yellow on my big brush. I'm going to mix it on another plate, actually. I'm going to pick up some blue. See that? And while my canvas is wet, I am going to paint green all over my lovely canvas. All over. And this is a pretty deep green. It's like grass. It's a grass green is what it is. I can add some more blue to that to make it a little richer. And I can, I don't normally mix things on my canvas, but this whole painting is supposed to be a mess. The whole background, not the painting, but the background. So I don't normally do that, but I did. Basically what we want is a deep green, a deep earthy feeling green. And that's why putting a little blue in there is not a problem. I want to have this area up here a little lighter because I want it to be like sunlight. So I am going to make that area a little bit lighter. I have to be careful when I'm doing my blue that I don't pick up any white. So I'm just mixing some more paint, a little blue, a little white. No, sorry, a little blue, a little green. And just painting it all over. Notice I'm not being careful about the kind of strokes that I use. I just want coverage. And I want it to be messy. I want it to be messy because this background is loose. And what I mean by loose is it's not exacting, it's not realistic, it's just color, just plain old color. I'm going to add a little bit of black to it to get these darker areas. So I just picked up a little bit of black on my brush, going back and forth, and I just want to get some of this. You can see it's still green, but it's a really deep, rich green. By having more dark at the base and a little bit at the sides, it's just going to give me areas where there's less light. Now I can also paint the sides and the top and the bottom of my painting as I go. And that way, that's called a gallery wrap. And when I do that, I won't have to frame my painting because the sides and the top and the bottom will already have color on them. And it'll just look like I painted a painting and wrapped it around that frame. Then you won't have to buy a frame at the store. And if you've bought frames before, you know they're expensive. So paint all the way around. Do a gallery wrap. So notice how I am not being fussy with this at all. I am letting all these shades of green just blend and dance and have a good old time. And then when I approach the sides or the top of the canvas, I will get those too. My gallery wrap. I'll let the bottom dry a little bit. I'll let the whole thing dry a little bit before I pick up the bottom. but you get the idea. So notice how it's just very messy, very messy. The colors I used to make the green, of course, were yellow and blue. And then to make some of this darker, I picked up just a ton of black, just a ton, not a ton, just a tiny bit of black. I need to slow down. I guess I was hurrying because I'd already painted this once an hour ago. Forgot to turn on the recording, and so now I'm doing it again. Such is life. So this is the second copy I'm painting today, which is just fun. It's a lovely, bright, easy painting, so it's all good. It's all good. So notice what a mess that is. But isn't it cool when you do something fast like that and it's a mess? This looks like sunlight coming in off the top. This looks like shadow. And did I do anything deliberately or painstaking? No. I just slopped it on there, but I put the darker areas in the corner and up here and a little bit to the side so that it brings in the light in the areas that are going to be my focal point. I'm going to let that just dry, but I can paint get my shapes on. I'm going to use yellow paint on a medium flat brush, and I'm just going to make my shapes for this seed pod head. I don't really know what that's called, but this is the center of the flower, whatever those are called, the center, where the seeds are. And so I am just laying out that yellow where the head is going to be. And the same thing up here. This one's smaller. And I'm just laying out where it's going to be. Now what I can do is I can go in with a little bit of white and I can lay that down as well. And that just lightens up this whole area a little bit. Just so it's a little more obvious to you where I'm going to be putting that seed head. I should go look that up. What is this called? What is the center part of the flower called? We'll go with seed head. How's that? All right, so that's where they're going to be. There's a large one and a small one, and they're the shape of a taco. So I'm going to let those dry a little bit. And I'm going to mix up a gold color. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go put that in front of a fan for a moment. And I'll be right back. So I put my painting in front of the fan. It's still a little bit wet. You can see that it's a little glossy. Do you see this area here? When I turn it in front of the camera, you can see it shines a little bit. So that there are three ways to know if your painting is still wet. One, if it's shiny. This area is dry, so it's matte. It's not shiny. This area is a little wet, so it's still shiny. You can see that. That's one way. Another way is if you touch the back of it, it will feel cooler if it's wet. It'll feel cooler than room temperature. It's the same thing when I paint with watercolors. The back of the paper will feel cooler if the watercolor is still wet. So that's the second way. The third way is to pick it up and rub it on whoever you live with. And if they scream at you, it was still wet. So I don't recommend that third way. You could get in a lot of trouble, but just know that that's also an option. All right. So this golden color here is a mix between red and yellow, but mostly yellow. So I'm going to pick up a bunch of yellow, and then a little bit of red, just a little bit. I don't want to make it so red that it's orange. And I might have already done that. I might have to add some more yellow. But just know that the red might go a long way. It's a little orangey. I can use some of this though. I can pop it on. Basically what I'm going to do is pop on a whole bunch of yellow too and tone that down so it's more golden and less orangey. But the general idea is take a brush and plop it on. Do you see how I'm really globbing it on? Now you want to make sure that you don't glob it on so thick it goes down the canvas and drips down. So maybe that was a little thick. I'm kind of taking my chances, but maybe a little less thick than that. But the general idea is pop it on, but don't cover it completely. I'm not stroking it. I'm popping, pop, pop, pop. See that? That pop is called stippling in the art world. I did not go to art school, but I learned that from many of the teachers who worked for me who did. So that's called stippling. Now I'm going to take that yellow and I'm going to do the same thing with the yellow. But notice that I don't want it all to blend. I'm not blending these colors together. That's why I'm not stroking the painting. I'm not, doing that. I want these colors to just lay down on top of each other or next to each other, but still look chunky and thick. You could do that technique with an art knife as well. It doesn't have to be a brush. Stippling can be done with a brush, but you could also put it on with an art knife if you have one of those. But it also works with the brush. And we do the same thing up here. Same thing up here. Just, it's got a lot of texture. That's a lot of texture. And what I mean by texture is it's bumpy. That paint is on there thick and it's bumpy. Now, if you are a person who likes things very neat, this technique is going to be a little challenging for you because you're going to want to blend it. You're going to want to stroke that paint. Try to resist the urge, okay? Put it on as if you were putting it on with a painter's knife. Now I want to make the top of the seed pod head, whatever those are called, I want to get more yellow than the bottom. Why? Because that's where the sun would be hitting it, right? So that would make more sense if it's more yellow on top. More yellow on top. More yellow on top. Same thing with this one. More yellow on top. Okay. Now, you'll notice there's some orange in here. There's some yellow, and where they meet, it's a golden color. But then there's also some black down at the bottom of the seed head. Why would you have black? That's the shadow part. That's the part that's not facing the sun so much. It's lower. It's more in the shadows. Up here where the yellow is, that is getting a lot of sunlight. You can even add a tiny bit of white to that yellow and just put it at the tippy tops. And that really shows, hey, this is where the sun is kissing this painting, right at the tippy tops. And that white is mixing in with the yellow, but making it a bright yellow, right at the tippy tops. Okay? Because that's where the sun's hitting. Now, if I want to make this where the shadow is, all I have to do is take a little tiny bit of black, just the tiniest amount. Oh, too much. If you know what a lentil is, about the size of a lentil is probably just right. And I don't want it to be full on black if I can help it. I want it to be real dark, but I'm letting those other paint colors mix in a bit. And I'm going to tap that on just near the bottom. Now again, if you're a really neat person, you have a clean desk, clean house, this technique is going to be a little hard for you and you're going to want to blend it. Resist the urge to blend. Resist the urge to blend. I have a motto here at the studio, friends don't let friends overblend. And notice how I'm not putting it on in a straight line. I'm tapping it in different areas unevenly. Boy, that's hard. That's tough. That's tough to hear. Well, picked up a little bit of blue with that one, but that's okay. All right, so it's this bottom area. Tap, 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 tap. And then I'm going to have to let this dry a little bit before I put on my beautiful flowers, petals. But you get the general idea. I put on too much black up there, maybe. It's all right. It's okay. All right, you get the general idea. A little more random. A little more random. A little more random. Okay. All right, so far so good. So then I'm going to wash my brush really well. I'm using my medium brush, a medium flat brush a lot for this painting. So here's where you have a choice. You can turn off the video and walk away. Enjoy a glass of wine, do the dishes, whatever you want to do, and then come back to it after it's dry. Or if you want to go ahead and put on some flowers, petals, you can do some carefully around what's wet and avoid it. That's a little trickier. I'm at the studio right now, and like I said, I had already painted this a little while ago, forgot to turn on the camera, so I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to jump in. But I'm going to be very careful not to touch this paint because I don't want my colors to, sorry, I don't want my white leaves to get all those colors in it. I'm going to be a little more deliberate than that. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to mix up a little tiny bit of blue, just a little tiny bit of blue into a little bit of my white because I want some blue flowers. I know that sounds crazy, right? Blue, why blue? Because when things are farther away, they're bluer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some blue leaves. It's a very pale blue. And notice how I'm not being straight. Don't be straight, okay? Don't be straight. Be curvy. These flower petals are fluttering in the wind. They're fluttering. It's a windy day. And that's what's going to make them really pretty, actually, is that they're fluttering. So don't make them straight, okay? I'm just going to put as many blue ones as I can without running out of my blue. I'm going to go back and get some more blue, I guess. My paints are in the back. But for now, I'm just going to put on as many blue ones as I can, and it's just the palest color blue. You can add a little more blue than I just did. That's okay. But notice how my petals, they're kind of going all over the place. They're like octopus petals. Now, some of them may be going in the same direction because maybe that's the way the wind is pushing some of them. But some of them are going to cross over in front of others and be unruly. That one's unruly, right? It's kind of like kids. If you have children or you are a child, you know, sometimes they just want to do their own thing, and that's okay. Same with flower petals. This is a windy day, windy day. I might run back and get some more blue while you're doing some petals, okay? I'm going to go get some blue. I'll be right back. I just need a tiny dot of blue. In fact, is that, can I get any off of there? Let's see. No, okay. I'll run back and get some more blue. And just go ahead and put some petals on in curvy directions coming out from your flowers. But don't touch the inside. Let's let that dry, okay? If yours is not dry, just let that dry. Notice I'm touching, I'm pulling them out from the seed head. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to get some more blue, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got some more blue, and I'm going to mix that in a little bit with some more white, and I'm going to have just a few of this deeper blue. And you're probably thinking, why would you have blue petals in a daisy? That sounds ridiculous. But remember, the proper viewing distance for a painting, an impressionistic painting, which is what this is about 10 to 12 feet away. And if you're seeing it up close, that blue looks blue. But if you're seeing it from across the room, it's going to look like an off-white. And that's really what you want, is you want multiple shades of off-white. Anytime you're painting white, there's some artists that never use actual white. Never. They all, I think I did hear that Monet didn't. They always, when they paint with white, they always paint with off-white. They make a new shade of white. Now I want to tell you also what a fan brush is. What a flat brush is. This is a flat brush. And the reason you know it's a flat brush is this part is flat. When I turn it that way, it's crimped. You can see that. That's a flat brush. There are two surfaces on your flat brush. If you hold it this way and you paint this way, you get those really fat strokes. But if you hold it on the side, you're going to get thinner strokes. See that one's fat, really fat. But if I hold it on the side, I'm going to get thinner strokes. So it's good to mix them up when you're doing this painting. Some fatter, some thinner. And then also with your petals, have some longer than others. Have some longer. Some shorter, some longer. And I know that seems ridiculous, but the reason for that is these are fluttering in the wind. Remember, it's a windy day in this painting. So I want it to look windy. And the way I get that windy look is by making some of these petals shorter, because that's just how it would look if they're fluttering. Some, you'd see the whole of one and maybe it's tucked behind another, or maybe it's bent over itself, but they're going to appear to be different sizes when they're moving. Hope that makes sense. And this is just a lot of different petals. Now notice I'm using a starker white right now, just straight on white. And I like the movement. What I mean by movement is that some are going in the correct direction together. Maybe those are the rule followers. But then some, boy, they're doing their own thing. They're moving in the wind. Just relax, enjoy this movement. It's kind of fun, right? This painting's pretty simple, really. It's fun to paint because it's so simple. It's coming together quick, isn't it? And so over those blue ones, just some stark white. Stark white. Helps if you go. Oh man, that one's really doing its own thing, huh? Sometimes they do that. Sometimes those daisy petals have a mind of their own. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add just a tiny bit of our golden color to some white, because now I'm making a different shade of off-white, and it's just white with a tiny bit, just a tiny bit of that gold in it. And you'll see that it'll pop compared to the other ones, because I never want to paint with just stark white, right? I want each petal to have its own personality. And boy, do they. Can you see that? When you have some off-white in different shades, it puts those petals on different planes. If you know what I mean by plane, that's a math thing. The blue ones are farther away. The white ones are in between, and these ones with yellow, they seem to be right on top. Can you tell by looking at it that they're fluttering? Because they're all different shades of white. All different shades of white. And each one has its own curve and personality. I don't know about you, I raised 3 children and each one is so different. Oh my goodness, they're all so different from each other. Maybe you know a family like that. In fact, my brothers and sisters and I, we're all very different too. All right, so I think we're just about done, but let me show you. I just want to neaten up around that seed head a bit. Looks like this is pretty blue, and might want to make that more white. There we go. Mixed it up a bit. Mine's a little wilder than this one, but I tend to do that. That's my style. When you paint, you're going to have a different style than other people that you know, and that's how it goes when you paint. I noticed this one has some petals that are broken and facing up, or maybe they're just, the wind is knocking them up. So I'm just going to paint them on. Oh goodness, they picked up a little bit of that color. Nothing wrong with that. That's kind of fun actually. But it picked up a little color. That one did too. Picked up a little bit of color. And I don't mind a bit. Now I'm noticing, okay, this one has, oh wow, that's really yellow. Maybe I'll go over that one. Okay, this one has the same thing. Same thing going on here. Same thing, and notice how it's just pulling it up and letting it do what it was born to do. All right, nice. Now it looks like they're really fluttering, doesn't it? I hope so. Maybe there's a couple more going that way. Maybe. All right, I do want to just show you, I put that medium brush in the water, and this just has a tiny bit of brown, just a little bit, to soften this area that's still green. So to make brown, basically you just take some blue, or pardon me, some yellow and red and white, and do I have any blue left? Oh, there's a little bit. And a little yellow. All the primary colors together will make brown. So depending on how much you put in of each one, you're going to get a brown of some kind. Let's see. So it's yellow plus red plus blue, and you will get a brown. All right, now all I want to do is I just want to come in and I'm just kind of dotting on some texture on this line that defined my seed head, because I just want to break that up. I don't want that line to be too obvious. And just by popping that on, I can also pop some yellow closer to it too. I just want that seed head to not end in a line. I just want it to end in pops. All right. Oh, I'm having too much fun with the popping, so I need to stop. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing up above. I'm going to take a little bit of that brown. I'm just going to, over the top, just tap some in to break up any line that I have there from when I first started painting. No lines. We don't want any lines. You can break up the black too if you want. Why not? It's kind of fun. Now, I have a philosophy that painting is kind of like raising kids. It's fun, and you have your nose in it so much you lose all sense of perspective on the overall picture. So what I like to do is I like to step back about 10 feet and look at my painting to see how are other people going to see this when they come in my house and see it across the room. So I step back about 10 feet and I look at it so I have a more realistic impression. It's like if you're raising your kids and you're exhausted, you really don't know how you're doing, but take a break, go out for a night. And then when you come home, you'll love them even more because you had a break. Same thing with painting. Breaks are a great thing to do when you're painting. Even if it's not a long break, just go across the room and look at it and see it from the perspective of someone walking in the room and seeing it for the first time. And then when you come back, you'll know what you need to tweak. Now, another philosophy I have when I paint is if it's 80% good, leave it alone. And the reason I say that is because if you're going for 100, you're never really going to get 100%. You're going to get maybe 80, 85, and then you're going to start to mess up what you did right. So stop while you're ahead. It's kind of like gambling, right? That's the idea. Don't go for, know when to, what does that old song say? Know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, something like that. Same thing with painting. When you got a good hand, stop. Don't risk it. No such thing as perfection in art. All right, I'm pretty happy with it. I hope you are happy with your painting that you just did with me. And I am going to sign mine in the bottom. I'm going to take my smallest brush. I'm going to dip it in any color. It doesn't matter which color. And then chisel it on the side so you get a nice fine point. And then just sign your name in the bottom. And I'm hoping that you're going to do that right now with yours, because when I see yours in the Louvre, I'll know who did it. And I'll say, oh, wow, I think they watched my video. All right, I just put my initials. That's it. And I'm going to call this baby done. Yay, thanks for painting with me today. I hope you had a good time. Now, this is going to take a little while to dry, and I'm not concerned about that in the slightest. Acrylic paints usually take about 10 to 15 minutes to dry, but when you glob it on, the way I was really globbing it on a lot, it will take a little longer. So it might take a half hour when it's really globbed on. So yeah. All right, thanks for painting with me. Enjoy, and I really hope you come and paint with me again. Actually, I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, oh, I want to mix a little bit more color and just touch something up. Remember I said walk away, come back, see it with fresh eyes before you stop. And then I'm just gonna pop on a little bit more color here, just a little bit more. But then I need to know when to walk away, right? But I don't want this to be too dark down here. All these colors are mixing. Oh, that's fun. It is fun to paint. Bob Ross used to say, every day is a good day when you paint. Now, he painted in oils. This is an acrylic. I do teach Bob Ross oil paints. I am certified to teach those, but we are not doing those right now because of COVID. And as soon as the COVID pandemic loosens up a bit, I am going to be teaching Bob Ross classes again. I can hardly wait. I love doing those. So keep watching our YouTube channel. Keep checking us out on our website, www.sippingandpaintinghamden.com. And join me for more painting, okay? Love to paint with you some more. I am just lightening up those dark areas. I noticed when I looked at it in the camera, they were a little bit dark. And all those little red areas should be golden. So I'm just tapping them one more time so they blend a little bit with the yellow. And then I'm going to walk away because it never pays to be a perfectionist. All right. Okay, once again, thanks for painting with me. It is a joy and a privilege to paint with you. And I will see you the next time for another video on our YouTube channel. Sipping and Painting Hamden. All right. Take care, everyone. Ciao. Be safe. See you soon.